Hi there, come on in. If you're a deer hunter thinking about getting out in the woods early in the morning, you might be concerned about coming across a bear in the woods. Well, Tom Walter came across the bear during a fishing trip last summer. Tom, you had your camcorder with you.
Yeah, I was trying to film a moose and got a bear instead.
Now, were you using the camcorder primarily to film with or to use as your defense?
Well, both.
Both. He has some great videotape coming up of a close encounter with a black bear. So join us. Tom Walter and Fred Trost are going to give you some scary experiences. Stay tuned. It's Thursday night. Time for Michigan Outdoors.
Area across from here is where the moose was spotted earlier.
This home video was taken by Tom Walter from Waterford, Michigan, who was on a spring fishing trip in Canada. Tom was alone, hoping to get some video of a moose that was seen earlier that day. Before he could sneak up on the moose, a black bear interrupted the stillness of the Ontario wilderness, giving Tom the scare of his life.
Swampy.
Go on! Go on, bear! Go on, bear! You go away, bear! Go on, bear! Get out of here! Get out of here, bear! Get out of here, bear! Get out of here, bear! Get out of here! Get! No, bear, no! Go on! Hey! You get out of here! Get out of here! Get the tree! Get the tree! Get out of here, bear! Get out of here, you bear! Get out of here! Get out of here! Get out of here, bear! Get out of here! No! You go!
The bear had Tom backed into a lake, and every time Tom thought the situation was calming down, the bear made another rush.
Get out of here! You get out of here! No! No! Get!
I'm gonna drown.
No! Get out of here, bear!
A few seconds after this, the bear retreated and Tom turned the video camera off, but his evening of horror wasn't over. Tom smiles about it now as he recounts the experience and tells us the rest of the story.
Well, yeah, I was trying to film a beaver that I'd seen earlier. I was trying to film a moose, but a beaver was out there splashing around. When I heard the noise, I thought it might be a beaver coming down the hill. So I flicked on my camera and turned around and there he was. He's about 20 yards away from me, and
Get out of here!
he didn't run. He came right at me.
Did you start off figuring you'll get tape of this bear? You get videotape of it?
Well, yeah, when I first saw him, I thought, wow, this is cool. I'm going to get to film with this bear, and as soon as he sees me, he's going to run. And then when he started coming at me, I just started backing up and using the camcorder as kind of a weapon, per se.
Were you aware as things progressed that the camera was on?
Yeah, I
You
knew
were
it was
taping
on. I knew it was on because I remember flicking it on. And like I said, I was using it as a weapon. I also had a little 3-inch pocket knife in a sheath, which I managed to get out. So if you can picture me standing there with a little knife and a little camcorder backing away the whole time.
But you weren't really concerned after maybe a minute or so. You weren't too concerned about whether the picture was centered and in focus.
No, I wasn't. I was not concentrating on filming at all. I was very concerned after the first 10 seconds.
10 seconds.
Yeah, because he came right at me.
How? I mean, we see on the tape, and it looks like it might be kind of playful or.
Yeah, initially I didn't know what to expect. I just wanted to get out of there. I just wanted to get back to where my brother had dropped me off in the boat, and that's all I could think about. Although I did know I was filming.
Okay, now it came at you the first time, and then what would it do? Would it back away or?
Well, if it got to like between me and you in that distance, I would really scream. I would really scream real loud, and he would always stop when I'd do that. And then I'd try to back up a little bit more, and then he'd keep coming, and then I'd scream again. And finally, he pushed me into the water. It's the only place I had to go. And he came into the water for a little while, but then he just kind of wandered off.
What were you wearing?
I had on like camo overalls and a pair of Sorel boots.
So once the water got into that.
They were very heavy. There's a whole other episode that's not on film.
Mm-hmm. Now you're talking about after you cut the camcorder off.
Yeah, see what happened is he left, and all I wanted to do was get back to where my brother dropped me off. So I got out of the water, turned the camera off, and started making my way back there, and I heard this noise again, turned around, and there he was like 30 yards away, this time running full speed at me.
Oh no.
And there was a blown down tree right beside me, and I was trying to step over it, but my coveralls weighed too much, my boots weighed too much, and I kept trying to get over it. He kept closing the distance on me. Finally, I had to go down on all fours to go underneath it, and when I went down on the ground, he really came hard. He came real hard. So I rolled underneath the tree, and I stood up, and he was about this close, and I really screamed real loud. And he stopped. He pushed me back into the water some more, and he made a lunge at me in the water. None of this is on film, so I don't know if you believe me or not.
Where was the camcorder at the time? Did you have it in your hand?
I still had it in my hand, but I had turned it off when I got out of the water originally.
Huh.
And then this time when he wandered off, I stayed in the water about 5 minutes to make sure he was gone. Then I got out and worked my way back.
Well, maybe when you were heading back to your brother, maybe that's where the cubs might have been, more in that area.
It could have been. I don't know. Like I say, I never saw any cubs or anything else.
So at the close range, was the bear growling or anything?
What I remember the most is his eyes. He had he'd kind of look at you sideways, and he had that look in his face like, I'm gonna get you, But he never growled, and he never saw his fur stick up or anything like that.
Never saw his teeth?
Never saw his teeth.
Could you smell it?
No.
You don't remember?
Don't remember smelling them.
Because bears oftentimes stink.
I was probably smelling something else.
I guess. Well, speaking of how scared you were, I mean, you must have had goosebumps or your heart pounding, or how did that feel?
Well, I remember getting back to where my brother dropped me off. He was out fishing. He was supposed to meet me back in an hour. And I got back to where he had dropped me off, and I still had 10 minutes to go before he was supposed to be there. And I was real nervous because I was expecting this bear to come back any time. What I remember the most is how dry my throat was from screaming. I just was so dry. And my brother likes to tell a story when he came around the corner to pick me up that I was just a babbling idiot and shaking, and he couldn't understand what I was saying. And they would have never believed me, but I have it on film.
Now, when we look at that tape, it's kind of humorous the way you call the bear, bear. Like, go away, bear.
Well,
Get out of here, man!
I don't know what else to say.
What else to call him? Did swearing at him help?
Did that seem to get his attention anymore?
Not really.
I would have expected, in fact, all of us who watched the tape would have thought that there would be more dramatic off-color language. I mean, you were quite mannerly with this bear, actually.
I don't know. I didn't have time to think of any good dialogue.
What went through your head about the bear possibly attacking you, what you would do if it got any closer? Did you have any plans?
Yeah, I did, as a matter of fact. Somebody was asking me that. Well, somebody said, why were you filming? Why didn't you put the camera down and run? And I knew you're not supposed to run. You read that in all the magazines. If I would have ran, first of all, there's no place to run. There was so many blowdowns, and you couldn't run. Mm-hmm. But if he were to attack me, I was thinking this. I actually was, that I was going to take the camcorder and shove it in his mouth as he was going to bite me or something, and then maybe that'd give me a few more seconds.
What about your knife, your 3-inch pocket knife?
I almost stabbed him once when I was standing over that blowdown when he was about, like I say, he was a foot or 2 feet away. I almost stabbed him.
Where? Where would you have stabbed him?
In the head. His head was right there. But
that might have really teed him off.
I know. I'm glad I didn't do that.
So how does it feel right now sitting next to Franklin Soltz's mounted bear here?
Well, as long as he's not moving.
Does it make you a little nervous?
No, not anymore. I used to think about it, and when I'd go to bed, like 2 weeks later, I always thought it'd make a much better story if he had taken a swipe at me, and maybe I had to get 20 stitches or something. But
you probably wouldn't have wanted that. Now, of course, the question is, are you going back there to fish again this year?
Actually, we're not going back to this place because the lake didn't produce as many fish as we'd like, but we go every year. I just probably won't go wandering off in the woods by myself anymore.
So you're going to curtail that? Anything else you're going to do different?
No, I'd like to take a gun with me, I guess, but I don't think they'll let you do that.
Mm-hmm. Well, it turned out okay.
Mm-hmm.
You're alive and well.
Mm-hmm.
And what a story.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, I tell you, that was scary to watch, at least to me, and I'm sure to a lot of hunters who were going out in their blinds in the dark on opening day. But don't worry, folks. Black bears in the northern part of the United States are in their dens. They're hibernating right now, so there's really not a lot to worry about. You can concentrate on your deer hunting, maybe come up with a great story for our trophy book.
Well, I'll start with, I got this one right here on October 12th with a bow. I rattled him in, and before I rattled him in, I had a doe and a button buck with a smaller doe, and I let them go. I don't know why I did, but I did. Right after they left, I started rattling, and this one came right in on me, about 10 yards, shot him with a bow, went about 35 yards and ran under his tree stand and died. And then 12 days later, I got this one on the 26th, same tree, same spot. Rattled him right in. I got this one with a bow also. And then that one out here that's just a little bonus point, I guess. I got this one. This one only had 3 legs. I got him on last week of gun season. Just got him stalking in the rain, and I caught him right on top of his scrape. Shot him with a shotgun. And that's that one.
Pretty nonchalant about it. 3 bucks in one season, obviously a combination of luck and skill. I don't think we have any choice but to make Pablo Garcia Jr. from Kentwood our Michigan Outdoors Trophy Buck Hunter of the Week. For those of you who want to have a chance at being selected for the trophy book, what do you need? Well, a big buck that has 10 antler points or more will qualify you for a Williams Gun Sight Hunting Award, or if your buck has less than 10 points, it can still qualify if it has an outside spread of at least 18 inches. Get an entry form from one of our Outdoor Digest magazines, have it certified, and you could be on your way to being seen on Michigan Outdoors. Last year on opening day in the Upper Peninsula, hunters were treated to snow. Ideal conditions for hunters, but for deer, this severe weather was an unkind way to start winter. The DNR's Upper Peninsula Regional Wildlife Biologist Bob Wood looks back to 1989, which he says, at this point, looks a lot like the season we have starting in 1 week.
If you were to compare this season with last year, I think it'll be on a par across the Upper Peninsula with last year from a hunter's numbers, deer numbers standpoint, except perhaps in the east end. The east end had a fair problem with winter last year, perhaps a little more severe than anywhere else in the UP, and hunters might notice just a smaller number of deer, but we certainly have an awful lot of deer left up in the Upper Peninsula. I expect that success will be very similar to last year. I'm suggesting perhaps that the buck kill may be just down slightly. I'm suggesting the antlerless kill might be just up slightly. Probably with the Thursday opener, we're looking for a few more hunters this year.
You think they'll take any bigger bucks?
Well, the Upper Peninsula always has big bucks. We've got big bucks from one end to the other. And there's always that opportunity, no matter where a hunter hunts, whether it's in our farm belt down in the south or in the wilderness up in the far Keweenaw County, there's going to be a chance to take big bucks, primarily because we have probably only a maximum of 110,000 hunters a year. And when you're talking about 16,000 square miles, that's not a lot of hunters per square mile, and there's always a lot of bucks that get by and get older. So if the hunters are up to finding those big bucks, they're out there to be found. I think one other impact that the season may have is we had some real severe November, December weather, and those fawns last year, I think, were put on short rations early, and I suspect the deer are going to be a little bit smaller this year, and I think the hunters are going to see a lot more spikes. That's just a gut feeling, basically because of November, December weather, but that's a prediction. We'll see if it comes true.
Cameraman John Ford and I, along with my son Zach, will be combing the woods in Iron County to see if we can't see more bucks than last year, but there's definitely no shortage of deer where we'll be. Meanwhile, most hunters will be in the northern lower peninsula, in areas that have traditionally held the most deer in the state. I asked regional biologist Gary Bushell if the season looks comparable to last year.
Yeah, the buck kill, I think, is going to be equivalent. In fact, just looking at some numbers, over the last 4 years, the buck harvest has fluctuated more than 1,000 deer. So, and the only thing I could anticipate for this year would be a mild winter would allow for carryover of quite a few deer. Plus, we had those early storms back in November 16th that really knocked the hunters out of the woods. So in that regard, I would think that we might have some more 2.5-year-olds in the harvest, which would mean bigger bucks. This would especially be true where the snow hit hardest, from about Roscommon up to Mackinac City.
Otherwise, are things pretty much the same as far as the areas that have the biggest concentrations of deer and hunters? Is that stable from year to year?
I think so. We've been really targeting in on taking antlerless deer, and we're getting some comments from hunters that there were not as many deer as before, and frankly, that's by design. But for the most part, it's quite similar.
Kathy Beitler will be covering the opening day buck polls at Tuck's and Lenny's in Houghton Lake, where she should see an impressive display of opening day racks. Kathy will start her morning in the southern Michigan farm country, where I asked DNR's Southern Regional Wildlife Biologist Ed Tucker if he's going to stick to his usual story that deer hunting just gets better and better in the South.
Yeah, I'm afraid it will this year, because we've issued a few more permits, and we'll probably have maybe just a fewer less bucks being taken per se, but it may be just about the same, but the antlerless kill should be up about 10,000.
You're doing that to trim the nuisance deer?
Yep, trim the herd down. Our goal eventually is to get down to a fall population of about 460 to 65,000 deer.
Will the bucks be any bigger this year?
Probably you won't even notice. They won't be any bigger down here. They'll be just as big, though. And we'll probably down here in this region probably still take 70% of all the big bucks in the state will be taken right here in southern Michigan.
You bragger.
No, I'm not talking about Sanilac and Huron County, because that's not southern Michigan to me anymore. See, if you add those in, I'd say 90% of all the deer are going to be taken down here on the line from Bay City to Muskegon, without a doubt. 90% of all the biggest deer in the state.
Well, there's no doubt Michigan has plenty of deer this year. Too many, in fact. A bad winter could bring on massive starvation, something we haven't seen for several years. If hunters are successful and the harvest is high, the remaining deer will be better able to survive the winter. When hunters take deer, it's usually very quick and humane, but Mother Nature isn't so gentle. Death lingers in the swamps in February and March, a plight of our white-tailed deer that will be minimized if deer season 1990 is as successful as we hope.
Michigan deer hunters could take as many as 425,000 deer this season. You'll see the biggest racks on our Big Buck Night on December 6th, but virtually every deer will end up on the table, and they'll taste especially good with one of Kathy Beitler's award-winning recipes.
We received a venison chili pie recipe from Jim Simmons, and that's just a different twist on chili, actually. It's not baked in or made in a crock pot or all one big pot. It goes into a crust. And this is your venison burger that's got the fat in it.
Now, is that venison fat or is that pork? Or?
Nope, no pork, no beef or anything. It's just straight venison fat, a little bit that was left on. Then you're going to add your celery and onions and stewed tomatoes and pinto beans and olives.
Apple?
Right. Apple. Did a little bit different ingredients, right. And then going to make a crust, and this crust also has something different in it. It's got cornmeal.
Kath, these poor people at home trying to write all this stuff down, they're going to have to send for the digest. This is...
Right, a lot of ingredients for a crust recipe.
Well, why can't you just make one out of a box?
You could, but it wouldn't have that cornmeal to it, taste to it, and I think the cornmeal actually does make this recipe. And for the bottom crust, you're just going to press it into the pan. You don't have to roll it out first.
I like that. That looks easy.
An easier step. And then before you put the top crust on, you want to add a little bit of cheese, and then you do roll out the top crust and then roll that on. And then make a little bit of cut in the top, and you want to make sure that all the little holes are covered.
But you cook it in the oven in the cast iron skillet.
In the cast iron skillet, right.
Well, you know, this was one of the winners of our cooking contest last year. A terrific recipe, and you know, sometimes, Kathy, you don't do justice to those winners. Let's see how Bob Garner ranks your work here.
I'll tell you what, this may be even better than the night that we ate it up in the cooking contest.
Really?
It may be better even. This is unbeatable.
It's nice and warm right now.
If I had to vote without tasting anything else, that's a problem with the cooking contest, tasting all those dishes one after another.
You're telling me it's a problem.
But I tell you, taking this just all by itself here,
It is great. And the venison comes through in this. You can taste it.
Well, yeah, but you can taste
everything individually.
This topping, this crust or whatever you call it on top, wow. It almost tastes like strawberry shortcake for a minute, and then it tastes like vegetable soup, and then it tastes like chili, and then, but it's all just super.
And Fred, it's not like it's they've been thrown together all day and sat there. It's like the ingredients are still fresh, and they were maybe steamed steamed or something, as opposed to just cooked on all day.
Much down, yep.
Kath, you get an A on this one.
Thank you.
Absolute A.
Hey, she can bake a chili pie, can't she?
Honestly, if you haven't tried any of our award-winning venison recipes but would like something extremely unique that everyone would like, this venison chili pie is it. You'll find it in the new November-December issue of the Outdoor Digest magazine. That's right, it's been printed and is in the mail to all Outdoors Club members. Most of you will have it by the middle of next week. Well, this is the last Michigan Outdoors before deer season. It's the first Michigan Outdoors of our 10th year on public broadcasting. 469 shows behind us, and I hope at least that many ahead. Thanks for all your support. Have a safe deer season. Next week, I'll see you through the magic of videotape, because I'll be in deer camp. I hope you will too. Next week, opening day deer hunting highlights from years past, and sometime in the coming month, we'll try to get our new governor on the show to talk about sportsman's issues. That's after deer season, of course.